Hello, this is Lauren speaking, and if you're new to my channel, I am a professional astrologer. In this video, I'm going to be talking about aspects, transits or solar arcs between two planets, Saturn and Pluto, or Pluto and Saturn. Now, in astrology, this is probably, I would say, the most challenging aspect, whether it happens to us individually or whether it's happening in mundane horoscopes or world events, etc. Just most people who study astrology should know this, or astrologers know this, that in September 2001, September 11th, 2001, that event, transiting Saturn was opposed Pluto in the skies, or Saturn was in opposition to Pluto. And also, at the start of 2020, Saturn and Pluto were together in the sign of Capricorn, conjunct each other. So we know what happened during both of those events. Now, over the past few days, I've just been thinking a lot about what happened in Hawaii, and I really wanted to look at the chart of Hawaii when it was established as a state. That would be the chart that we can study, and see what transits or solar arcs were going on at that time in August of 2023. Now, the chart I'm using for Hawaii, the source is from Mark Penfield on the website Astrology Software, and Hawaii received statehood on August 21st, 1959 at 10:10 a.m. in Honolulu, Hawaii. And, well, that was a very enlightening for me to look at what was going on there. Let's just first look at the transits. Well, big surprise here. We have transiting Saturn oppose Pluto. The first hit of it was in April of 2023, but the retrograde hit was exact on August 28th. Even though the fires were on August 8th, we're talking about just a few weeks beforehand as the aspect is building up to exact, and the final hit will be in the first week of January 2024. Now, transiting Saturn with Pluto, and I'm quoting Noel Till because one of the best astrologers that lived, as far as I'm concerned, and he calls this transit the ominous loss for renewal transit, big loss period, difficulties, a loss threatened, difficult challenges with regard to reality situations. Whenever Saturn or Pluto or Saturn come together, there's going to be some kind of potential self-destruction, hard work, building a better foundation for your future, but not necessarily coming up with the diamonds right away. And, you know, it's a very challenging aspect, as most people who study astrology should know. So I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Now, just looking at some other transits that were going on, is Hawaii was under a transiting Mars return, transiting Mars conjunct Mars. Now, Mars and Aries rule over fire. And another quote I'm going to give from Noel Till's book Solar Arcs is, quote, "Mars is an important trigger potential. Adrenaline, aggression, eruption, separation, cutting away, or exploding." Well, when I saw that word exploding, I thought, wow. And that was exact on August 12th, just 3 or 4 days after the fire. And also we have the transiting Sun conjunct Uranus. And so that can be a very independent or revolutionary spirit, being oneself and getting away with it, but time to build with confidence for a new image. So that's quite interesting as well. And Uranus is sudden, unexpected, etc., etc. that combination can also represent enormous personal emotional intensity. Absolutely, for that event. Now, I decided also to take a look at the solar arcs that were going on, or would be going on. Now, keep in mind that solar arcs are a background theme of development that can kick in 6 months before exact, and then run 3 to 6 months after exact. And, wow, couldn't believe it. There was solar arc Saturn opposed Pluto. Exactly the same aspect as the transit. Now, when we have, and by the way, that solar arc Saturn opposed Pluto will be exact in the first week of February 2024, but events usually happen 6 months within that 6-month period beforehand, such as the fires on Maui. When we have in astrology the same solar arc that's happening, or the transit that's happening under the same solar arc, as in this case, this is announcing a very, very significant event, and it's putting emphasis on those two planets, Saturn with Pluto. I don't want to analyze this too deeply any further, but also in terms of solar arc coming up in July of 2024, the solar arc Neptune will square the moon. So, you know, these next, let's say, months into 2024 are going to be challenging, because when we put Neptune and the moon together, for an individual, for example, and here for a state, they can suffer a type of lone introspection. It can be a depression. The ego is wiped out. There can be bewilderment, confusion coming from Neptune. So it can be a suppression of the self or a suppression of the state of Hawaii. So, you know, this is where astrology, I tell you, sometimes it's just mind-boggling how exact and precise astrology can be. I mean, when we look at the transiting sun that's moving 1 degree every day, both transiting sun and transiting Mars, we use them to trigger when events could happen. And of course, nobody could have predicted that, astrologer included. We can't look at every single nation or state and you know, do a predictive astrology on it, but we learn in retrospect, and this is where how we learn astrology, is we look at events in our lives or global events, and we see what's happening astrologically. So, at any rate, heartfelt prayers that go out to everyone and anyone who's been under some devastating, disastrous situations, and like I said, prayers for the world and for people in Hawaii and Maui. So I'm going to leave it at that. Just wanted to share that with you, you know, how accurate astrology really is. So thank you for listening. You can also study your own personal horoscope to see when Saturn, transiting Saturn, about every 7-8 years, is conjunct, square, opposed Pluto. And you can also look to see when Pluto would also, transiting Pluto, be conjunct, square, opposed Saturn in your natal horoscope, and reflect on your past, whether those were challenging times for you. But again, sometimes we have to have loss in order to renew. So it is a loss for renewal, solar arc transit or transit. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Take care. Bye-bye now.